Future Elijah here. Make sure, if you are of age, to take a shot every time that Brendan says,
The big one.
just like that. You're going to be wasted.
Once again, the big one.
Oh my god.
And don't take a little shot. Take a big one.
Good luck, everyone.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Behind Blue Sky podcast, your source for navigating all things themed entertainment as a budding designer and breaking into the industry so we can get you behind blue sky. I'm Brendan Assaf.
And I'm Elijah Adams. We ask that you keep your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the podcast at all times, and we hope you enjoy the ride. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Behind Blue Sky.
Oh yeah, this is going to be a fun, big blue sky brainstorming one. And about...
How big? How big?
Massive. One
No.
might say it is so epic it could fill a universe. But it has
No.
nothing to do with that big universe.
Well, yeah, no. I was going to say, how big? Universal?
One might say it's so studios it could Florida.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about Universal Studios Florida, the entire park.
So we wanted to talk about this park because obviously in recent years, Universal has had this wildfire-like expansion. We've seen Islands of Adventure really grow, really starting in like 2016 or 2015 with the replacement of Hulk. Then we got Kong, then we got Hagrid's, we got Velocicoaster, and that park really just keeps evolving in really exciting and awesome ways. Meanwhile, we have Epic Universe, of course, opening down the street with some really, really great additions. In this time, though, we haven't seen too much for Universal Studios Florida. Of course, we have
No.
DreamWorks Land coming. It's literally called DreamWorks Land, coming this summer, replacing Kid Zone, which I think is a much, much needed addition. And we had the
Definitely.
Born Stuntacular replacing Terminator 2, which also is really great and really underrated. I underrate it. I gotta go watch it again. It's a great show.
It's fantastic.
Oh yeah. There is still more that needs to be done, and I think even in this time frame, some of the expansion that has happened has not been the most popular expansion or the right fit for the park. So we're going to be diving into that a little bit.
Great Scott, everyone! If you can hear me, this is the voice of Brendan talking to you from the future. I don't know how, but it seems there's been some sort of temporal paradox happening in this episode. You see, this episode was recorded in the past, but it somehow must have gotten a hold of the 1.21 gigawatts you need for temporal travel, and it's now being released in the future. So that being said, in the time between recording this episode and the time in which it was published, there have already been some changes made which we recommended or wished for within the episode. Now, I'll be back from the future a few times to confirm exactly what these changes are, so you best stay put with your ears peeled so that you can hear all of these new updates or see them as they pop up on your screen as you're watching on YouTube. That being said, sit tight, I'll be right back!
But I think first we should kind of recap a little bit of the history of Universal Studios Florida.
Sure. So, Universal was looking to expand and create their first ever theme park, and they wanted to do so in Orlando, Florida, sort of following Disney's lead. And the park officially opened on June 7th, 1990, with opening day attractions such as Alfred Hitchcock, The Art of Making Movies, Animal Actors, which is still there, Dynamite Nights Stunt Spectacular, Earthquake, I think it was called Earthquake the Big One.
The big one. Yeah, don't forget the big one.
Yeah, Earthquake the Big One.
The big one.
E.T. Adventure.
The big one.
The Fantastic World of Hanna-Barbera.
The big one.
Ghostbusters Spooktacular.
The big one.
Jaws, the ride.
The big one.
Confrontation.
The medium one.
What the hell? Okay. Murder, She Wrote Mystery Theater.
I'm not going to follow that one.
Okay.
Yeah, we're done with the big one.
Nickelodeon Studios, which, I mean, that's like a park all in and of itself with all the tours and whatnot.
That's another episode.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And finally, the Phantom of the Opera horror makeup show.
Elijah was so excited for that one. He's been
I
prepping that
was.
for days. He's been looking in the mirror and reciting it.
Just
Yep.
that one line. So that's what was their opening day. Over the years, the park experienced many, many updates, a few new attractions like Men in Black Alien Attack and Back to the Future.
Back to
And
the Future is still kind of considered one of their classic attractions, but it
right.
opened just a few years after their opening. I want to say 1995.
Oh wow. I didn't realize that. What,
1991.
Wikipedia?
Back to the
Okay.
Future, the ride opened in 1991, so it was only a year after the main opening, and it was, once again, another classic. So a lot of the sort of Universal Studios classic attractions people equate to Jaws, Back to the Future, E.T. Adventure, Earthquake, the big one, and the Ghostbusters Spooktacular. The Ghostbusters the Ghostbusters Spooktacular has also kind of gone down in infamy as having one of the best billboards. The billboards for these rides kind of are very popular. You'll see them online. You'll see the
Oh
Slimer with his
yeah.
hands out and the proton pack beams kind of wrapping around him. Of course, there's a ton of nostalgia built up around these properties, which we'll get into in a little bit later.
Mhm.
And that's kind of the original age, which was experience the behind the scenes of these films, experience not only a little bit of the story itself of the films, but also how they were created. So the Spooktacular show was very much a special effects show. Of course, Phantom of the Opera horror makeup show was all about the making and makeup of that.
Mhm.
And it was really, yeah, it was really still one of those behind the scenes age experiences. I believe they did have studio tour at one point as
They
well.
did. It was very short-lived. They had a studio tram tour, but it was really haphazard. You would load over by Nickelodeon Studios, and then they would drive through the pathways in the park while guests were walking. So it didn't last long because it wasn't that safe. But
And you couldn't hear the guide after all the honking.
right, yeah, the road rage.
Following this era, really in the early 2000s, the behind the scenes feel of these parks really kind of died out. You saw the same thing over at Hollywood Studio, then MGM Studios at Disney,
Right.
and Ride the Movies became the new slogan. And so
Hmm.
things started to get updated. We got Twister Ride It Out. We got Revenge of the Mummy the Ride, which, of course, is, in my opinion, the best attraction in that park. We got Men in Black Alien Attack, which is a really also underrated shooting interactive ride. And we got Shrek 4D.
just rounding out heavy hitters, and then we got Shrek.
Shrek is the heaviest hitter. Oh, and we cannot forget Jimmy Neutron. Nicktoon
Oh yeah,
Blast. The
yeah,
Fantastic World
Jimmy.
was replaced with more updated cartoons.
But that was also, I was gonna say, it was kind of groundbreaking. It was, right?
It was the same system.
I mean, both of them were pretty groundbreaking
Yeah.
overall.
Well, a lot of the original Universal Studios attractions were because they were the start of simulators. And so that's how, at the point we are now, we'll talk a little bit about this more. It's
The
such a
beginning of
simulator
the
and
end.
screen heavy park. Did you say you're going to have a rant?
No, I said the beginning of the end.
At the beginning of the end, yes. But really, you've seen, or many of you have probably seen at Universal Studios, particularly how many screen-based simulator attractions there are where you're shaking essentially in front of a screen. In the early '90s, this was brand new technology.
Hmm.
Besides, of course, Star Tours, that was very exciting for people, especially like Back to the Future. Just the scale of that screen and was really immersive. That blew people away.
Hmm.
Jimmy Neutron and Hanna-Barbera, and at this point now Minion Mayhem, they still have like a sharp themed border around the screen, which has always been something kind of interesting, and it's a lot more clear to see the rest of the people around you. But
Hmm.
I think that was kind of the take one, if that makes sense, of that technology.
Yeah, because it was their very first simulator anything in any park that they had done. Yeah. So it's kind of surprising that they still have that exact same tech to this day, considering how much they're able to do and how much we've seen them be able to do with simulations and just, I don't know, just ride tech overall.
That's true. But you know
Yeah.
what? Replacing things costs money. It's expensive. And if it ain't broke,
The amount of things that weren't broke that they did fix.
yeah, there was a lot of fixing.
Let's talk about that a little
Yeah, let's talk about the fixing.
bit.
So up until probably the 2010s, especially starting I think 2011, we saw more of the modern age of Universal Studios Florida come in. the Wizarding World of Harry Potter had just opened in Islands of Adventure, and it was a massive hit, drove in tons of people, and redefined themed experiences. Universal Studios Florida was suddenly an older park with outdated attractions. And it didn't just have the liveliness that Islands of Adventure had. So that's something that needed to change. Of course, in 2009, sort of to combat that happening in the other park, we got Rip Ride Rocket, which is both a great and awful coaster at the same time, depending on who you talk to. I enjoy it, and yeah, it's painful. But the fact that you can select your song was groundbreaking. It still is. It's the only ride on the planet, as far as I know, that actually let you do that.
Yeah.
But it was rough. It's still rough. And operations for that attraction are very tricky with the moving load platform. So I'm sure that eventually El Toro Ryan on YouTube is going to have a problematic roller coasters video about it.
Brendan from the future here. He actually just released this episode recently.
If you haven't seen any of those, Elijah, you would love those.
I've seen that.
Oh, you have seen them?
Yeah, I watched a few years back.
He goes in depth on these attractions. So quick plug for him. Free plug. Woo! But moving on, Transformers The Ride opened in 2011. I believe that was one of their first pushes for more immersive experiences. Not 2011?
No, God, no. 2013.
What? Nah. Nah. That opened a year before.
Before what?
Okay, wait.
Minion Mayhem was 2012. Transformers was 2013.
I don't believe that. That's crazy. I always thought Transformers was before then. I guess maybe it opened in Hollywood in 2011.
Yeah, because I wrote it there first.
Gotcha. I didn't know you went to Hollywood.
Birthday trip back in 2012. Yeah.
Very good. Happy birthday to you.
No.
Happy birthday to you.
I'm a
Happy
Leo.
birthday to Elijah back in 2012 when he went to Universal Studios Hollywood to ride Transformers and the other attractions listed at that park. Happy birthday to you. Hey!
Cha-cha.
Thank you, Susan, for the hot cha-cha.
Yes. Okay, well, actually, Susan, I do want to ask you real quick. You're the only one of us who actually got to experience old Universal. So if you're,
I got to do a lot of the rides. I did Earthquake, the big one. I did Jaws. I did Back to the Future.
Susan, you got to experience the original park to some degree because you were a proper child of the 90s, unlike myself, who is a 99 baby. So tell us, what did you think of the park in its, I don't want to say heyday. I don't even know if it was its heyday. It was just in the early years. What did you think of the park? And how did you feel when the changes came?
I absolutely adored the original park from what it was. The only rides that I don't remember going on, or my parents didn't take me on, or experiences, I should say, were the Ghostbusters and Alfred Hitchcock. And I wasn't around for the backlot tour. But I have very clear, vivid memories of Confrontation. I remember being terrified of the gorilla. Like, I remember walking in the queue and the full set dressing, like floor to ceiling in New York City. And I remember there were pennies everywhere because everyone had to like leave their mark. And for some reason it was just pennies. So the place, like pennies. The entire queue smelled of copper every single time. And you had like the flashing lights and it was like, he's out there. And they had like the helicopter. It was really cool. I have a very clear memory of the first time my dad was like, I'm gonna protect you kind of thing. It was the last, like the hero shot when you turn the corner in the Skytram and there's this big gorilla and he's just like swinging at you, and I was terrified as a small child. And he looked at me and he goes, you see that gorilla? If he comes to get you, I'm gonna punch him in the nose. And I was like, okay, everything's okay now. But between that, the Earthquake ride, for some reason, that one didn't scare me nearly as much as Kong.
The big one.
I knew, like, I guess my parents were like, this is all fake. So I was, okay. Twister scared the living daylights out of me. I was like, I never want to live anywhere where a tornado or a Twister is possible. Absolutely not.
That one was scary. I remember doing Twister and being like, ooh, in the pre-show. And then they were like, now you're going to experience that. And
exactly. I thought nope. It was terrifying. Nightmares. And then Jaws. I loved Jaws, but this is gonna paint my family in a horrible light. Welcome, I was part of it. So we had a younger sister. Her name was Amanda. She was the youngest of the 3 girls, and I was the oldest. And we got on this ride. So the way I felt about Twister, she felt about sharks. And we're like, nothing's gonna happen. Nothing bad's gonna happen. My dad, being like the prank kind of guy that he is, he goes, she's big enough. We put this child on the end of the boat. And we made sure it was the end of the boat where Jaws would come up and like chop near, because this was still the time where the boat would lean and he was like at you. So Amanda was on the outside of this boat, and we're at the end and it leans over. My dad grabs her in like the dad fashion, goes, "Oh my God, I'm saving your life!" I felt so bad, but it was so funny. And what was worse was the boat guide was like, we have some chub. Throw her in the water. It's gonna be okay. We'll get away, folks. It was awesome. So I do really miss, but like, I'm really, really excited with what I've heard just from the dark rides in Epic Universe coming. Like, that's what I'm here for. I want more of the big banana breath Kong monster to terrify children. Like, that's the nostalgia.
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, moving on to the Blue Sky section, the first ride I want to pitch is called Big Banana Breath Monster. But talking about kind of the way that the cast or the team members interacted on these attractions, Universal is a lot more lenient with that, which I love because the team members get into it in good ways and in bad ways. There was one time my girlfriend and I were going on ET Adventure, just the 2 of us. No one else was there, no one else was in the queue. It was just the 2 of us getting on the ride. And we get in, we're excited. We're like, yeah, like we love the ride. We've been on a billion times. And the team member goes, "Do you think we'd save the Green Planet, just the 2 of you?" We went, "Yeah, we got it." And he goes, "Well, I don't know. I've been sending out these bikes all day and no one's ever made it back. That planet's just got to be burning down. Anyways, good luck." And then dispatches us.
That's perfect.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it was
love
so
that.
great. Susan's dying. Susan thinks it's the funniest thing she's ever heard. Another offering that was considered a classic offering for Universal was one of their shows opening in 1992, Beetlejuice's Graveyard Review. So for a long time, thank you, Susan's showing her Beetlejuice Pop Funko. I am drinking off of a coaster that is Beetle Cat. I've broken Susan.
I have nothing.
Elijah has quit the podcast today. Thank you, guys.
No, I've been fired.
Yes. Beetlejuice's Graveyard Review was a really unique attraction. It was Universal's answer to both the Beetlejuice film and the way to get their classic monsters in the park, although in a very cartoony light. Beetlejuice was basically an MC hosting a rock concerts where the classic monsters in very, very mid-90s costumes came out and sang very mid-90s songs, and it was just the right amount of cheesy. And Joey Fatone from NSYNC was Wolfman. Susan has photos, supposedly. Overlay photo here. And the show kind of was like a little raunchy, which I kind of loved because they don't do that at theme parks anymore.
I mean, that's Universal.
Oh yeah, but I mean, even still, they play it safe now. Back in the day, they got into it a little bit more, which is fun.
Yeah.
So Transformers was really the start of this transformation in the mid 2010s, and really the pinnacle of that would be Diagon Alley, which would unfortunately replace Jaws. However, Jaws took up a massive plot of land. It's crazy to think that Diagon Alley replaced only a section of where Jaws was.
Really? Not everything?
I think some of it bled into where Fast and Furious is at this time, if I'm correct.
Whoa.
So, yeah, and Gringotts is a really great ride. It's a little short, but it has really unique theming and a really unique system that I hope is used more. And it's just incredibly immersive. So that happened in the mid-2010s. Similarly, across the way, Back to the Future tragically closed. Back to the Future is my favorite movie, so. Also, I have a Back to the Future poster on the wall behind the camera on a bunch of Halloween Horror Nights and Universal posters. You're seeing all the Disney stuff behind me. But
redeeming myself, I'm wearing a Back to the Future shirt.
Good job, Elijah.
only Universal merch I own other than Horror Nights.
We need to change that. That has to be changed.
They
and
need to change their
shifted.
merch.
It needs to be transformed.
I'm not wearing a Transformers shirt. You can't make it.
You don't need to do that. Anyway, so Springfield replaced Back to the Future, as well as a large section of the area known as World Expo, formerly where Men in Black is. Men in Black is meant to be the Galactic Pavilion, I believe. It's a pavilion in a World Expo, and Back to the Future was the Institute of Future Technologies Pavilion, where they were showing off their tourism versions of the DeLorean, which was the story of the ride.
Oh, and Fear Factor.
Fear Factor was there as well. Fear Factor was another mid 2000s edition,
Very
a live
mid.
show.
Very mid
2000s. Like 2005, 2006.
Emphasis on the mid.
Nobody misses
Sorry.
Fear Factor, respectfully. I don't know if that's just the show or like the actual show it was based off of, but it was an audience participation stunt show. It was a little bit interesting, but at the moment that stage is closed and has been closed for a while. I bet Susan's going to say that like her or a family member was picked and did the stuff for Fear Factor.
I'll have to double check with my mom on that because I think someone might have in my family. I was never going to because I can't eat things that would make me potentially throw up. There is no way.
You don't want to do scorpions on your face?
No, I mean, if they just crawl on me, that's fine. I'll be fine.
No,
but the second people are like, you have to eat this mealworm, I'm out.
Wow.
Yeah. So Fear Factor Live was also located in that World Expo section. Since then, it's very much been dissolved. And of course, Springfield has taken up a huge chunk of that land, both with the Quick Serve location that was next to Back to the Future, as well as a little bit into where Men in Black is. It is more highly themed than it was there before, and also brought the addition of the Kane Kodo Twirl and Hurl. This land is not as popular, of course, as a lot of the other lands, which we'll get into a little bit more. So rounding out the lineup now, following those major additions of Diagon Alley and Springfield in 2013-2014, they kind of took a break with the larger additions. And in 2017, replacing Twister Ride It Out, we got Race Through New York starring Jimmy Fallon, which admittedly is much more New York than Twister, but less of a quality attraction. And moving on from there, in 2018, replacing Beetlejuice's Graveyard Review and, at the time, Disaster, which was the replacement for Earthquake, the big one, which is essentially a slight retheme of that with Christopher Walken.
It was weird.
It was very odd.
Yeah.
Replacing that would be Fast and Furious Supercharged, which, of course, was an attraction lifted from the studio tour in Hollywood and brought here as sort of a enhanced version of that with some more story fleshed out.
I don't know. It's bad. It's so freaking bad.
I will say I personally like Jimmy Fallon a lot less than Fast and Furious Supercharged. Supercharged has one very good physical show scene, and it has two pre-shows with live actors, and the live actors can add a lot to it. I think it's the story for me is like really, because you can tell that parts of it were just taken from something else, and they had to kind of Mod Podge it all together. Whereas Jimmy Fallon was like, hey, I got these ideas, let's just throw them in there. And the creative team was like, okay. And that's what happened.
Plus, the guest flow in Jimmy Fallon, I really hate it. They've got that waiting area. I don't know if they still do this because
No, they still do it.
The first time I did it, God, the first two attractions I did for Grad Bash were Jimmy Fallon and Fast and Furious Supercharged. And
starting off strong.
Yeah. And I just remember being so overwhelmed in the Jimmy Fallon waiting area because they would call your color while you're all, you're waiting, watching I don't know who they are, the singers or whatever it is, that pre-show. And then a mass of people just sort of come at you when their color has been called and you're still there just like trying to navigate. And it's like, what is happening right now? This is so unorganized. Why are they entering this room and then going out the same direction? That should not be happening. It's too confusing. So if they are still doing that, you said?
that attraction was built with the main idea in mind that it was an experiment to see whether or not they needed a traditional queue. That maybe a waiting area with various entertainment could then pull people or entertain people better while they wait to get on the ride, and then they could eventually get on the ride.
They
But I
failed.
don't know about you. I always feel like I have to wait an extra 20 minutes or so, like after my color has been called in that one area where they just show Jimmy Fallon clips.
It's been way too long since I've done it, and that's our reason.
The entertainment in that room is not awful. They have a mixture of games, of clips. I think they're the ragtime gals they're called come and sing, but
Mhm.
it's also very kind of dependent on you knowing Jimmy Fallon's different characters and shticks
Yeah.
because he has a bunch of those. And when you ride the ride, if you do not regularly watch the Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, or at least have not watched his clips on YouTube while you were taking a dump, then you don't know what's going on at all. Let's be honest, that's how I know any of that stuff. Hashtag the panda. You're sitting there and you're like, eh. And finally, the last addition to Universal Studios Florida up to this, or the second to last addition to Universal Studios Florida, the previously mentioned Born Stuntacular opened in 2020. It replaced Terminator 2 3D. We did not talk about Terminator 2 3D. It was a fun 3D show with some interesting screen melding effects
Mhm.
where characters would come out of the 3D screen. Born Stuntacular kind of carries that on with a very high def screen behind live stunt actors that really extends the set in a convincing way. I
Mhm.
haven't seen it since 2020 when all the actors were wearing masks and there was social distancing. I'm sure it's even stronger now, so we need to see it again.
You haven't seen it since then?
I haven't seen it since
It's
then.
so good. Yeah, go back. Go back. They're doing a good job over
Oh, yeah.
there.
And finally, in 2023, replacing Shrek 4D is Illumination's Villain Con Minion Blast, which is a very fun stand-through attraction where you stand on a moving conveyor belt. You're given a blaster and you blast items both in physical space and on a screen. It is a chaotic and enjoyable attraction. They're working out the bugs still, definitely, with some of the things in that ride, but it is a people eater, and in my
Is
opinion,
it?
it's more enjoyable than Shrek. It is. I mean,
Oh.
if you think about it, it's a conveyor belt. It's a moving walkway.
I mean, okay, so I haven't experienced it yet, and I've purposefully not seen any pictures or videos because I did want to experience it.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I did not know you did not know.
No, I know what it is. You get on the conveyor belt, and you get your little
Mhm.
blaster, and you shoot at things that are unfortunately not minions, and you go through.
No, you can shoot the minions too.
Really?
Yeah, that is that is one thing that I like about the attraction is it actually pairs with the Universal app. It tells you how to do it while you're in line. Normally, if the line's longer, it's better, but it automatically pairs via Bluetooth to your blaster from your phone, and you can customize like your character on your phone. But beyond that,
Oh.
you can actually select different missions, which is something that I find really strong about it, because you ride a shooter ride once or twice, that's okay, you're used to it, and then you have some things like Web Slingers and California Adventure where you have to purchase sort of different additions to mix it up.
Which I did.
This actually says shoot these items in the background, or shoot this many minions, or shoot these many coins that drop, and it has it said 85 different missions you can choose from that all have different objectives, and you get different collectibles in the app. So
Okay.
and maybe if you do all 85 of them, you get like a free candy bar or something. I don't know, that'd be nice. You think they'd give something to the go-getters, but
They're not giving you shit for free.
they're not giving you. Well, you get a free digital El Macho hat, maybe.
Digital?
Or a free digital. You know what? I got a digital chip hat, I think, was what I got.
Where's the actual chip?
Did you see they did that in the Minions Cafe? They had the chip hat.
Really?
Or at least I'm pretty sure they did, unless I'm going crazy. I don't think you could wear it. I think it was just like a chip-shaped hat, that you come out and you.
I still haven't seen Despicable Me.
Any of them?
I've seen the Minion movie.
So yeah, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it all wrong. The
wasn't
Despicable
my
Me
choice.
movies are good. They're very good. But so, Elijah, to clarify here, in Despicable Me 2, man's greatest achievement was shown in animation, but never realized. There was a scene where there was a party, And at this party, there is chips and queso served. However, Gru is served chips and queso in a large sombrero that is a chip.
I know.
And in the rim of the sombrero is guac. And he goes... And it had yet to be created until now. Finally, mankind is done. We need not go any further.
Brendan, check iMessage, because this is what they had.
I didn't realize the shape of the chip was not made out of a hat. I did not realize the shape of... Haley's laughing. I did not realize the shape of the hat was not made out of a chip. It is instead made out of thin cardboard, and the chips are in the rim, and in the top is the guac.
Yeah.
But there's still a piece of the cardboard missing, like when he broke it. That's part of it.
And you don't even get that much guac.
That all happened at Despicable Me, Minion, Con, Villain, Blast.
So this is what you can expect when you experience Universal's Illuminations Villain Con Minion Blast. It's a fun ride, though. It's you get fun little collectibles here and there. It's enjoyable.
So we've talked a bit about how the park sort of has come to the point it's at today, but let's recap each attraction just so everyone's sort of familiar with what the current offerings are at Universal Studios. So this is sort of going around counterclockwise. Correct, Brendan?
Yeah.
You're the one who wrote it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to go around counterclockwise as if we're spending a day in the park. So there's the Bourne Stuntacular, Universal Orlando's Horror Makeup Show, E.T. Adventure, Animal Actors, Kang and Kodo's Twirl and Hurl, The Simpsons Ride, Men in Black Alien Attack, Harry Potter and the Escape from Gringotts, the Hogwarts Express, which takes you to the other park, Fast and Furious Supercharged, yay, Revenge of the Mummy, Race Through New York starring Jimmy Fallon, yay.
Yay.
Transformers The Ride, Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket, Illuminations Villain
Con Minion Blast.
What a name.
Illuminations Villain Con Minion Blast.
What a name.
The big one.
God. And finally, Despicable Me, Minion Mayhem. That's everything.
All three of them.
Yeah, all three attractions. That's all of them, sure.
Yeah. Let's start to talk about the reactions to the current lineup of the park. So, pros and cons here. Pros, there are a fair amount of offerings, which is good.
Yeah.
There's a fair amount to do. There is some variety for families as well, which was needed. And there's going to be more variety because currently replacing what was once known as Woody Woodpecker's Kid Zone, which is a children-friendly land, we're getting DreamWorks Land, which is going to have more interactive play areas, as well as a family coaster called the Troller Coaster, and we'll bring in DreamWorks IP that was either there before or expanded, like Shrek, Trolls, Puss in Boots, and Kung Fu Panda. Also, Gabby's Dollhouse is going to make an appearance, which I think is like a DreamWorks Kids series.
Oh.
Is that like DreamWorks Plus? Is that a thing? Is it a streaming thing? I don't know.
Probably DreamWorks Kids. I don't know. I'll look it up.
If you're like a avid Gabby's Dollhouse fan and you're like, Brendan, you're butchering my favorite show, I'm really sorry. I know nothing about it. So, what?
He's on
Elijah's made an incredible discovery.
Donovan Patton is on Gabby's Dollhouse.
Who's Donovan Patton?
Joe.
Joe who?
Joe Mama. No.
That actually got me.
No. Donovan Patton is Joe.
Did you hear that?
What did she say?
She goes, "Did you just get Joe Mama?"
I'm shocked that worked on you.
Haley.
No, Donovan Patton was Joe, Steve's replacement on Blue's Clues.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't watch after Steve.
That's a you problem.
You kept watching after Steve?
Hell yeah.
How old were you?
Good question. Listen,
Susan flips
Susan's
me
older
off.
than both of us, and she's flipping you off, and I agree. You can watch whatever you want.
I say this like I haven't binged all 3 seasons of the Cuphead show and enjoyed every minute of it. So, yeah, it's glad to see that some more family-friendly options are coming in, and as well that these are options that aren't incredibly screen-based. But that is the main complaint this park has had for quite a while and still has.
Yeah.
So many of the attractions are simulators or rely heavily on screens or 3D effects. A lot of people can't ride them, and a lot of course, avid theme park fans who love practical effects and practical sets kind of look down on them, find them to be a little bit cheaper. And in some cases, yeah, it's true. I'd say Gringotts, absolutely not. Gringotts is definitely something. It is screen based, but it's not cheap by any means. But I can see how some people would prefer more variety.
So, out of the 16 current offerings, 9 of those involve a screen of some sort, which I didn't realize until I counted just now. But that's over half.
Yep.
That's wild.
So, well, though, let's ask this question: how many are heavily reliant on screens?
I don't know. It's hard. The only one out of all of them that I would say does really good integrate. I mean, besides Born is an excellent show, and I'm not
Yes.
bashing it for using screens because the screens that it uses are immaculate. But I would say out of every attraction that does rely on a screen in studios, I would say Harry Potter and the Escape from Gringotts is really the only one that does a really good integration of both half screen, half practical. Like there's certain things that are seamless, and it's really the only one that does it extraordinarily well.
And there are moments on Gringotts. The 3D is really good on that attraction.
Oh yeah.
Normally, I don't think about like the quality of the 3D, but there are moments on Gringotts where recently I'd turn a corner and be like, "Man, the screen is blended in so well to the scenic here. How did they do that?" And then I'd realize this whole thing is one screen. Like it's all 3D.
Mhm.
It's so well done. Like it's specifically the part who go around this bend and one of the goblins says, "Hurry, you should be safe in there."
I love that part.
There's a whole, and it's a huge screen for like 5 seconds of him just telling you to go around the corner. But there's an overhang above him and he's running along like some stairs. None of it is real. It's all projected 3D, but I didn't realize that more than just him was projected recently. So it's well done. It's really well done.
Yeah, and stuff like that is a perfect example of how the technology should be used. Whereas Minion Mayhem, Simpsons Ride, you're strapped in to a moving simulator with 1,000 other people around you, it feels like, and you've got the one big screen in front of you. It's like
same with Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah, it's a movie theater at best, is what it is, and you've got 3 of them. And only one of them is that great of. Well, actually, no. I don't know about that. Never mind.
And only then, even then, you still have Fast and Furious as well, which does have some really well done physical scenes at the beginning. But then once it's screen reliant, it's not even super convincingly screen reliant. Because, like I said, it's based off of something from the studio tour. So you're essentially entering a dark tunnel with screens on either side. And the transition there is very jarring.
Yeah.
Very jarring. Oh, and another complaint that many people have about this park is some of the entertainment offerings. Because while it has some great entertainment currently, it's going to have a new nighttime show. It hasn't officially been announced yet.
It's me again, back from the future, with more updates on exactly what this lagoon show could look like. Now, apparently, it's called Cinesational. It'll be a nighttime lagoon show using fountains, projections, and drones as well to tell the stories of classic Universal films, like Back to the Future and E.T., Jaws, Ghostbusters, Jurassic Park, even The Mummy, and more. This show will focus on the soundtracks of these films.
And then we have the horror makeup show, which is just a really, really fun experience to see how they do behind the scenes for horror makeup. The Born Stuntacular. And then you have Animal Actors as well as a live show that's still there. And then some Streetmosphere experiences.
Mm-hmm.
But we also have Fear Factor 5 is completely empty. Nothing's been there. They've used it for Halloween Horror Nights, particularly. Right. But it is a very large plot of land that currently during the day is not being used, and Animal Actors as well. It's a cute show, but I think it's dated and its viewership is very low. Not a lot of people go to see animal actors. Most people that are tired parents trying to get their kids to chill for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's something that could definitely be improved. So we have a park that is getting more family friendly, but currently very over reliant on screen based experiences. How do we fix it?
Good question. Do you have a way?
I have a way. So I'm gonna start just kind of going through. I've really looked at this park and I've thought a lot recently, and I've sort of come up with a, let's say, 20-year plan. But I'm gonna go through the park clockwise. So as you first enter, you're gonna go straight back to the New York section. And of course, they have Revenge of the Mummy there, as well as the Jimmy Fallon attraction. Revenge of the Mummy ain't going anywhere.
No.
That ride is wonderful. It is such a good dark ride coaster. So of course it's staying. However, Race to New York starring Jimmy Fallon, I personally am of the opinion that if anything needs to be changed very soon at Universal Studios, it's Race to New York starring Jimmy Fallon. I would recommend, unfortunately, completely gutting that.
Mm-hmm.
What I think would go there perfectly is an attraction that Universal already has in Hollywood and is a great family edition that uses really good practical effects with projection mapping and has a really great and cute queue. It's Secret Life of Pets Off the Leash. Or the acronym for short, SLOP. Secret Life of Pets, if you haven't seen it, it is an omni-mover attraction where you kind of go through the streets of New York as a pet where a bunch of chaotic things are happening. It has a lot of animatronics. It blends animatronics and projection screens seamlessly. And it has a really just clever queue where you're just walking through different apartments, and the apartments themselves have some pet animatronics sort of making like a cocktail party pre-show, we'll call it, like telling you the plot of the ride as you walk through.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really well done. Very simple. It's a people eater because it's an omni mover. And it has an incredibly cute ending where you as a pet get adopted. So you actually get to see yourself. It's sort of a hitchhiking ghost effect where you come by a mirror and you see yourself as a dog. And then you go through a dog wash. They spray you with some water. You see your dog get all dried off and everything. They blow you with air. And you turn the corner and then a family adopts you, which is so cute. And it's all set in New York. I think it would be a perfect addition to replace Jimmy Fallon because also that's one less super heavy screen reliant attraction and a people eater, and it's good for kids and adults alike. So that's my first thing.
Okay.
I've also looked at the building sizes, and I think the building is a little bit larger in Hollywood, but it's also angled. It's kind of like a thin triangle. So I'm pretty sure it would still fit with some rearranging in the space that Jimmy Fallon's in. You may have to put the queue on floor 1 and then have load and the attraction on floor 2. But I still think it would work pretty well. And you'd be able to extend sort of those New York facades down past where Jimmy Fallon is. Because right now it's kind of a chunky... It's I think it's supposed to be 30 Rock, but it's very modern and strange as opposed to the very 1930s rest of the area.
Yeah.
So you get those nice brick and mortar apartment buildings. You look like you have thoughts, Elijah.
I kind of head empty, no thoughts right now, but I love the idea. No, it works. I really would like to see something like that happen. I haven't seen Secret Life of Pets either.
Secret Life of Pets, in my opinion, is not a movie you need to see anytime soon.
Okay.
But I think the ride is one of those things where it's not really that reliant on the movie because it's basically talking animals getting into mischief through the streets of New York.
I've seen the video of the ride.
Yeah. And they have some like really good animatronics. There's a cat that walks across a piano that's really convincing, and then it plays the different keys as it goes. It looks like a really great ride. So that is my first pitch. One thing also we did not mention in future editions that I think it's not a guest-facing thing, but it's a good thing. Behind San Francisco, behind the Fast and Furious attraction, they are currently building the Team Member Campus Commons, which is going to be a new sort of meeting area and quick serve location for team members.
Cool.
Basically kind of an area to come hang out, grab some food between shifts and all that. I think that's great. And that also is something to think while we're thinking of what attractions could potentially replace Fast and Furious Supercharged. Now, as we move clockwise throughout the park, we're going to head towards San Francisco. I've done some research, and also I've talked to my girlfriend who is a big Fast and Furious fan, but Fast and Furious is Universal's most successful franchise.
That's
It
crazy.
is. It's
Not
I know you wouldn't
Jurassic?
think of it. Not Jurassic. It's Fast and Furious.
I can't believe that. Wow.
Because Jurassic was big in the 90s and then it stopped.
I'm so
And then we got the
sorry.
Jurassic World movies, but then a lot of people are very critical of those. Fast and Furious since 2000 has been going strong, pumping out movies. And the thing that people love about them, especially after kind of seeing the first few and talking to Haley, is that they keep reusing the characters and they never recast anybody. And every time an old character shows up, it's like, hey, that's an old friend.
Mhm.
And that's why a lot of people really like them once they kind of keep through it. I saw like 6, 7, and 8 random. And maybe not even 7. I think it was like 6 and 8 I saw for whatever reason. I was very confused and I was like, these cars are doing crazy things. But when you watch it all through, it makes a lot more sense and you get a lot more hooked on it. So I think it needs to stay a Fast and Furious attraction. My pitch, another thing, gut the current
Yes.
version. Keep that one show scene though, because it's a good show scene. I think it should be the same system as Gringotts. I know they would be right next to each other,
Oh.
but same system as Gringotts, so that you can have some coaster elements to get that thrill, because it really needs to be a thrill ride. But that way you can have like drifting car scenes that go
Mhm.
fast. Gringotts, just moving between the scenes, moves quickly side to side, a lot of swooshing motion. Have that same thing, but your car is drifting around corners. You can emphasize the physical sets, use those nice screens from Bourne to extend the sets, and you see street racing and all that. That way, you get more of that heightened, emphasized feel to it. And another thing, this is getting so specific now, but another
That's fine.
thing is that building is really, really tall. It's massive.
Yes.
It's ugly. Unfortunately, I don't want to get rid of the whole building. My thought, if you can keep the show scenes limited to one story, then you can have it be a 2-story attraction where the queue remains mostly intact on the bottom,
Mhm.
load and unloads on the bottom, but then like Transformers, partway through you can have a screen lift into a second floor, and that's more room to have coaster maneuvers and everything before it goes back to the first floor. So I think that would be an attraction that could really help with kind of thrill, but it could still be a family thrill attraction,
Mhm.
and do justice to that franchise. But Susan mentioned as well the launch kind of being similar to Rock and Roller Coaster. And I think that's a perfect opportunity, launching through a theme street into a tunnel. Then you have your coaster maneuvers in the tunnel, and you're
Mhm.
back onto a theme street. Ta-da! Universal knows, you look at Hollywood, they're getting a Fast and Furious drifting coaster over there.
Mhm.
And that's going to be perfect. That's going to be like a big coaster. I think this could be something more family based, but still, it would bring in a lot more people. It would keep the same IP, and it would take a and screen based attraction and turn into like a attraction.
I was about to say it better be family based.
Family.
Yeah, I had to.
Vin Diesel's like, you got to come join our family. For our barbecue, we're drinking Coronas. And you know what's special about this barbecue? This barbecue is the big one.
Oh my god.
So moving on, this next part I have is not as in depth as Fast and Furious or Secret Life of Pets, but I'm just gonna. Men in Black needs a nice, just quality of life update. Maybe some more projections, make it look a little bit better.
You mean more? They don't have any.
Yeah, well, I mean, throw in some projections,
Oh,
like
okay.
add a little more depth to the scenery and stuff. They have a few scenes where they have big matte paintings of like Times Square.
Mm-hmm.
We could get projections to make it look like, there's like cop cars or alien stuff that's happening back there.
Yeah.
So that would be something. And that would be pretty quick and easy to do, I think. Just slop a projector in one of those windows up there. And then Fear Factor Live, new show there. I don't know what it is. I was looking at Universal franchises. Pitch Perfect is one of their franchises. Maybe you have an a cappella show there, but that's I'm only throwing that out there because it's a popular IP, or at least it was at some point, and then now they have the Germany spinoff. So, when they announced Bourne Stuntacular, there hasn't been a Jason Bourne movie in a while. It is still one of their most popular IPs, but I don't know if they own this. Whoever owns this needs to do better with this IP. John Wick. If they had a John Wick stunt show where Bourne is, and it was set in the Continental Hotel, that would have been awesome. I don't know if you guys have seen John Wick and know the John Wick lore.
Are you asking us?
Yeah.
I know what starts the whole thing, and it makes me not want to watch it, so I will not.
They are like gracefully choreographed, like ballet dances, the fight scenes, and they go on forever. And one of the things I like about it is like you watch a bunch of action movies and the main hero like just keeps fighting, he never gets hit, and he walks out without a scrape. John Wick gets the shit beat out of him. The
Okay.
whole movie. And every fight scene is like people feel like his equal. He's just a really good fighter. It's awesome. They're great movies. They're very colorful too. Like visually, like all the fight scenes take place in really colorful areas. Give it a chance. I feel like that would be a cool IP to do a stunt show based off of. So maybe that could go there where Fear Factor is. And then make Men in Black prettier.
But is it appropriate for the park?
I mean, Terminator 2 was rated R.
Yeah, but Terminator's like this icon. Okay, I guess John Wick is too, but
John Wick isn't. I think the thing is, it's you're not going to be telling like kids like, "Hey kids, go home and watch John Wick." It's more so fun character, do big fighty fight. People know him, and then Keanu Reeves sends a one-liner like, "Man, I'm really pissed," and then people are like, "Wow,"
yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
But actually doing that makes me think of Nintendo, which makes me think of the next area of the park, which is Simpsons. And this is going off of a current rumor that is pretty strong by Alicia Stella. Well, it's Alicia Stella's share. She didn't make the rumor. I assume she didn't make the rumor. Anyway, potentially replacing Simpsons in the future could be a Pokemon-themed land. There has long time been rumors of Pokemon coming to Universal Studios Florida. Initially, Super Nintendo World was created to fit in Kid Zone and replace Kid Zone, and then was now moved to Epic Universe. I think Pokemon going there would be perfect. There's a lot to do with that IP. It's a super popular IP, and most importantly, I think Simpsons, that whole ride system and all that's gotta go. I would like to see some sort of trackless interactive ride, I think, for Pokemon would be cool. And the rumor I'd heard forever is called Snap Safari. So you would take pictures of the Pokemon, and it would be like Safari theme, but with Pokemon instead.
Okay.
That because for the longest time that was rumored as replacing ET. Thank the gods that did not happen, because I love ET Adventure. But if we bulldoze Simpsons, put Pokemon Snap Safari there, love it. Perfect. Be very, very good. And then, just all the like King and Kodos, you can retheme that to Pikachu's Pika spin. On the topic of having sort of this safari thing and in the idea of exploration, one thing I would like to see, kind of bridging this into DreamWorks Land, which is a lot of interactive play areas, is I would like to see Animal Actors also kind of taken out. In its place, I think sort of a different region-based interactive play area. Think Camp Jurassic, but theme it to the different regions of Pokemon, put it there, and then have it be almost like a scavenger hunt where kids can run through and find different Pokemon and interact with them. Because that's one of the best parts of Super Nintendo World, is the interactivity and being able to play all those games.
Right.
Have that. You have a ride where people are going and finding Pokemon, and then they get inspired and they get to explore on their own and find Pokemon like more hands-on, walking around, running around this play area. I think that is something that this park could really, really use. And also, just Animal Actors for me is such a massive just block that's kind of taking up this big major area. I feel like rounding out that corner into DreamWorks Land and blending sort of the family friendliness of Pokemon through to the family friendliness of DreamWorks and those interactives would be wunderbar.
Yeah. I just wish that they had, bulldozed Animal Actors before they had even started working on the DreamWorks thing. Because now, and I guess, are they moving the ET entrance or no?
It has to be moved. I'm gonna get there.
It's they've cut off.
It's right behind Shrek.
Yeah. And now the sign is like sideways to where people would enter. It doesn't make any sense.
Great Scott! I don't know how, but they've already moved the entrance of ET Adventure up further. They haven't rerouted it, but they've simply extended it up next to the entrance of Shrek's house. It makes it much easier to see, and we have a pretty new sign. Take a look.
That brings me to my last update, and actually the one I'm most excited about.
Oh.
Of course, we're keeping ET. I think we should reroute the entrance. Currently, as you walk down the Central Park area of Universal Studios, which is a great scare zone spot, a wonderful scare zone spot every year, you pass the Gardens of Allah villas, which are just sort of themed, like Spanish colonial looking Mediterranean villas.
Mhm.
Off to the side of Kid Zone, you pass the SpongeBob Store Pants, which is a big sort of bikini bottom Krusty Krab themed store. And then you pass the NBC Media Center, where you can go and preview shows while they hook things up to you to get your reaction. And then this is not mandatory. You sign a thing and you basically say I want to preview shows.
But what are they hooking up to you?
I think they actually they do like a camera thing to judge your reactions
Oh,
and
okay.
see what parts you're most interested. No, they don't. They give you an IV.
I was about to say.
And they give you a cocktail of drugs and strap you to a table and force you to watch Ted on
Ooh.
Peacock. But it's currently a place you can preview shows, and then you get a gift card for lunch afterwards. So
okay.
it's a quick, easy thing. I've never done it, but I think this area can be used for something much better. Currently, if you look at a map of Universal Studios, you can see this Gardens of Olive Villas and the NBC Media Center and a few other things run along the side of the Central Park Road. But behind it, there is a backstage road from the Krusty Krab SpongeBob Store Pants leading towards behind E.T. I'm thinking, what if we just get rid of SpongeBob Store Pants and theme the area along that road, have E.T.'s entrance there so it's not right by the start of DreamWorks Land, and we make a small area called Classics Court, where you can interact with characters or even have some small different experiences with Doc Brown and Marty and the DeLorean from Back to the Future. The Ghostbusters can have a little Ghostbusters training camp or something there. Maybe there's an Amity Embassy. I can't say it. And there's a small Amity area, basically just tying in the different classic Universal franchises in a small area, just dedicated to being able to kind of look over that, have that nostalgia. As it is, a lot of Universal's merch that's been really selling recently is their retro edition, looking at some of these classic franchises: Ghostbusters, Jaws, Back to the Future, E.T. These are really the ones that Universal's really excited about. Oh, King Kong, of course. So let's find a way. Oh, an earthquake, the big one. Let's find a way to bring these back in some sort of small experience and then put them along that road.
I don't believe it. This information's coming at us faster than 88 miles per hour. They've already confirmed these IPs will be back in the parks to stay with Universal Mega Movie Parade, a daytime parade that'll feature E.T., Back to the Future, Jaws, Ghostbusters, Jurassic Park, and animated films. And even seems that the Jurassic Park float is going to have a T-Rex, a gyrosphere, and raptors on it, and the Ghostbusters float is going to feature a 16-foot-tall Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
So this would connect to where the gate is currently next to the horror makeup show and Cafe La Bamba there. So it would kind of be just behind that on the other side there, behind the ET soundstage. I think that would be something that could really just sell a lot for fans. It would be kind of a little passion area for a lot of people.
Nostalgic.
Yeah, exactly. A nostalgia area. And then you look at things like the Universal Studios Legacy store that was really popular in City Walk, and is now making the way for some sort of new experience. That could fit there really well. It's not a huge space. We're not asking for a ton, but being able to reroute ET there and then just having that would be a really fun area for the fans to be able to go and reminisce. And I think it would be just a little thing that would still bring even non-fans in. They'd come and be like, oh my God, I love Back to the Future. What happened to that? I love Ghostbusters. What happened to that? And they'll get to come and see it in the parks a little bit. So with all of this, I think the park would look significantly different from how it does now, but we would have changed a lot of the quick screen experiences to be more in-depth, thrilling, or family-friendly experiences, more interaction and engagement with the guests, and just create a park that overall helps to rival Islands of Adventure a bit more, which is absolutely stacked right now, and how stacked Epic Universe is going to be when it opens. And I think, honestly, that Universal knows this and they're planning it. They don't like to announce things until the very, very last minute. I mean, Velocicoaster was testing and they said we built a churro stand. So I hope to see fun things coming in the future to this park. But that's my pitch. Sorry, it was all me. Elijah.
I honestly don't have much to add because I grew up on Disney. So I still don't know that much about Universal, although what I do know is that I went the first time in, I would like to say 2011 or 2012. And I got there and I thought it was pretty cool, but then I got home and I did my own research and I saw the attractions that came before. And I thought, wow, this place used to be so cool. Emphasis on used to be. So for me, I would like to see something sort of similar to what Brendan said with the whole nostalgic classics court area. I would like to see them reintegrate some of their classic IPs back into the park. But I do really like what they've done with the two groups of yellow characters, Springfield and what is it? Minion Land? What is it called? Just Minion Land?
Yeah, it's just Minion Land.
Okay. I love those two areas because it it's a really great example of world building and how they reskinned these different themed lands. And there's great dining options. The aesthetic of the lands are, you know, they're cute. They're a little kitschy, but they're really really well done. I love the architectural design. I love the level of storytelling that they did with those two lands, and I wish that there were more areas like it. I know that there's the sort of lands that have overarching themes dedicated to locations like New York and Production Central, which isn't that strong, to be honest, and
Yeah.
San Francisco. But to see an IP be built out to the level that it was, which isn't that big. We've seen the Galaxy's Edge. We've seen Wizarding World of Harry Potter. We've seen all these things that go full out with their design. But to see small areas, little pockets, similar to Toontown, like Brendan said earlier, I would like to see Universal delve into that a little bit more. I think they have the capability, and I think that they just need to have the proper attractions that fit in those areas. Maybe we get Hill Valley.
That for the longest time I've been like, you know that what is it? Is it Gramercy Park? Is that one section of New York? You know, they put all the food booths there for horror nights. That's an area I just always thought like they have the New York facades on the one side, but what if they just it doesn't really work, it doesn't fit, but what if they just kind of took those
No,
out and put the clock tower there
no, it's perfect. Like that area is perfect for
for
Hill
Hill
Valley.
Valley?
They just
I
need to
know. But then
completely reskin.
you just have Mummy right there though, so it's like Hill Valley bleeds into New York. That's the only issue, but
So you
I would
reroute
love to.
the entrance of Mummy to closer
No,
to
I
San
got it.
Francisco.
No, I got it.
Okay, you got it.
I
Say it.
got it. Okay, so classic score I was telling you about, that's Hill Valley. That because also ET takes place in California, but the thing is, if you need a big thing to cover the soundstage for ET back there, you put the clock tower from Back to the Future, and then you have Cafe La Bamba along the side there. You put little Hill Valley facades along the side of the horror makeup show. You put little Hill Valley facades. It's perfect.
You stole my idea again, ladies and gents.
I'm so sorry. I got excited and ran with it.
No,
But
you're
I totally agree with what you're saying. I think both especially in I think Springfield and Hollywood is stronger than ours. Ours is good. Hollywood it's just bigger, it taller literally. And then Minion Land in Japan, kind of similarly, they've built the facades up a little more, so it's a little more immersive.
Hmm.
I think they could absolutely do the same thing here. Just build them up a little bit taller to help also hide the Transformers building.
Yeah.
But they're really cute lands. They're colorful. The architectural style pops, and in a park with a lot of sort of cityscape structures, I think having this sort of cartoon cityscapes would be really fun.
Mm-hmm. Oh, another thing. Get rid of Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket. I don't care if hate it. Hate it. It's painful. I do not like it. The vertical lift is, it's fine. It's whatever. It's friggin' scary. That ride makes me hurt every time I ride it. It's my Matterhorn. It's not good for the back. It's not good for the soul. It's not good for the spine. I said spine and back twice, but guess what? That's how much it hurt me. So you know what? Get rid of it. I don't care if they introduce a new coaster anywhere else in the park to take up capacity. Just level it. Have another coaster, another thrill ride introduced to sort of take up that capacity. I don't know what the IP is. I don't care what the IP is. Get rid of it. Put a different coaster there. put any other coaster there. Maybe even the same musical selection. I don't give a shit. As long as it is something besides Rip Ride Rocket, I will be happy and I can sleep at night.
I say Rip Ride Rocket V2.
Fine.
Yeah. I think what they could do is they could keep some of the support structures and all that, have RMC retrack it as a single rail coaster. I haven't not been on a single rail coaster, so coaster fans, sorry if I'm butchering this, but
it would make me not
I've heard they're really great and they fit in compact spaces. And that is a compact space in that thin area there.
Yes.
But with a lot of the maneuvers they do, like I think of Jersey Devil up in Six Flags Great Adventure. That is a long and thin coaster. They could easily do that where Rip Ride Rocket is with RMC. And it could be really, really cool.
Yeah.
So that's something I'd love to see them do, because they still need a big statement coaster. I don't think Rip Ride Rocket visually looks bad. I think it's cool. It looks cool. They just need it. It's just even if they just do a retracking, because it's like the whole ride. That's our show for today.
Let us know what you think about Universal Studios Florida. Let us know what you think of our Brendan's 20-year plan and my abridged little thought of an idea. Let us know what you think about what we have in store. And also, let us know what you would want to do to bring Universal Studios Florida up to, I guess, the same level as Islands of Adventure or Epic Universe.
Exactly.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you guys next week with something.
We'll see you soon with another exciting episode that's sure to be a big one.
Oh my god. Bye, guys.
That's the perfect way. That's the perfect way to close it out.
Yeah, it is.
The perfect way to close it out.
We hope you enjoyed your ride on the Behind Blue Sky podcast. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Behind Blue Sky Pod, gather your belongings, and step out to your right.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you in the next episode.